Hi YouTube. I wanted to talk with you about several different things that people have been commenting on my channels and just issues that have come up. And one of those is making assumptions about the searches that I do here on Rat and Cat for people who've gone missing. And the in my last video in interviewing Pamela, Austin Oldfield's sister, I would I was talking about how I have made a lot of assumptions, but when I don't apologize. I don't think there's so much assumptions as they are trying to understand where these people went and what happened to them. Thanks you guys for tuning in there. I see some of you commenting. I appreciate that and giving thumbs up. Yeah, it's really important for me to stay motivated as I'm out there and thinking about these, to think a little bit more about what is this person like. And it's not so much, yeah, so I go in further than, say, probably a search and rescue person would, um, as far as just what their background is and who they were as a person, sometimes if I can. And it makes it more interesting to me, and I think for people who are watching. But I also like to hey there, brown dwarf, good to see you. um, it's also good to look at those places that they went, and are there major features. And just when I was out searching this last weekend, I was looking for decision points, key places that they would have crossed where they might be going in a different direction. uh, they might have found a major feature in the terrain, and and that leads them to go in a different way. Hi there from the UK. Um, yeah, it's a little bit easier if they're on a trail because um, they could go either down this trail or this trail if there's a split, and so you can take that into consideration. But when you're out there in the woods, sometimes it's just the lay of the land, and statistically there are things that people will do or more likely to do, and depending on who they are and what activity. And so I'm looking forward to uh, exploring that more and sharing some of those statistics with you in the future. And I was really surprised at some of the geography and the things that could have changed Christopher Zitzwitz, the directions that he might have gone, when I was out searching this last weekend with a couple other guys. And some features were different than I thought they were going to be. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing with those with you, but I really don't want to spill the beans on those right now. But some interesting, really unique terrain coming up, besides just the lava. Also, I wanted to talk about Bigfoot, and here on the Rat and Cat, and why I talk about Bigfoot, even though I don't necessarily believe in Bigfoot myself. Um, so I yeah I've become more leaning towards a believer, although I don't have to say I still don't quite believe it. But I keep on running into stories, and again this last weekend I ran into somebody who I respect, who has a story which I'll be sharing with you in the future, who they saw something that looked like a Bigfoot, and how do you explain these things? And yet there's absolutely no video or photo proof. Well, there is, but it's so sketchy in this day and age that's just really hard to believe. And so, in a way, I try to keep those separate from my searches that I'm doing and talking about those, because these are very serious stories, and when I'm out searching for somebody, that's impacting real people. It's impacting. It's a hairy topic. Very nice. It's impacting what they are doing, and and their emotions of a lost loved one, and especially with Austin, there's a whole bunch of family that are missing him in a way since he's been gone for so long, and has abandoned some people in his life apparently, and so. I don't know. I don't want to criticize anybody too much, and I've already done that. So Pamela, I'm sorry if you're watching this. Um, but those are all. I mean, I would, if some guy was talking on YouTube or somewhere else about me and my family that was gone, my loved ones, I would really have a hard time with that, and it would feel really invasive. So I get that, and I think that there's so much stigma around talking about Bigfoot and Sasquatch that it is, I don't know, not exactly the best thing that I can do for my searches if I really include that. However, I've just come across those things, and I keep on coming across stories in the environment that I'm in, and so, and I think people are interested in that. So I'll probably continue to talk about that, but still kind of walking the line and keeping things separate. And there was a comment about the hunter that found Sasquatch. I believe it was just a few days later. Believes he was surrounded by Sasquatch, basically, or Bigfoot coming in, which I think is a fascinating story. Maybe that's true, but I think that it's it's probably not the reason why Austin went missing, and I think it's way more likely that he went missing from either if he perished from exposure or possibly a wild animal. Just statistically, that's what we know of. We don't have any statistics on any sort of unknown creature because they're unknown. So, but I think those are real possibilities, though, and those wild animals are out there, and I think in this area perhaps that there are more of those people that go missing due to wild animal deaths than we really know. And it's certainly, even in California and Glacier National Park, you see a lot of people coming in, or a lot more people coming in from animal attacks than you would do here in Skamania, in Washington, southern Washington state. So, yeah, there's just a lot on that topic. Thank you for saying that's going on in this area. So I'll continue to talk about that in the future, but I'm not trying to insinuate that any of these people necessarily went missing because they were eaten by a Sasquatch. And I think if a Sasquatch was eating people on a regular basis, there'd be a lot more people missing, and there would be more evidence. Okay, rainbow conspiracy theories. I think these are great and very entertaining and amazing. And growing up, I've commented in the posts a little bit about this. The community I grew up in was always down on the rainbow community, and I mean, those were bad people, and not Christian, and destroying the forest, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in the local town, when they come in, they complain about them thrashing the bathroom store, or the bathrooms in the local stores. So there's truth to that, and there's going to be horror stories all the way around. I do have a hard time, especially after attending one of those events, or actually a couple times now, and that it's not what I've heard so much in my life about. It's really just a lot more calm thing. Yeah, there's people who are probably taking marijuana. That's, yes, rainbow people. Let's see, this is a rainbow gathering, or the rainbow family is the more used term. That's what they call themselves. And it's just an open, like hippies, an open community, and there is drugs. There are drugs. There's a camp for all sorts of things. People who like drugs, people who don't like drugs, people who are in AA, people who are Christian. And you could go there to the Rainbow Gathering and set up your own camp, and it would be uh, it'd be fine. I mean, you could do pretty much any camp you wanted, and they would welcome you. And they do look at certain people, and they can tell who you are by how you're dressed and the attitude that you have and the look on your face, whether you're an outsider or really part of the family. But the thing is that if you attend, you are part of the family. You are part of that club, that group. They don't think of it as a club, but in a way, that's what it feels like. It feels like going to church, where people, will greet you with skepticism. So I think most of us can actually really relate to that. And I think the one thing that I've really grown to respect out of that organization, or it's not an organization, is the fact that they're not an organization. Yeah, there's some similar groups there in Europe. I'm just reading that comment. And I think Burning Man is another one like that. And I don't I don't support all the things that they do there. I just have been dialoguing with a friend on Facebook about this, and it's I don't know. They were comparing it to the situation where we had some ranchers take over a wildlife refuge. Now I'm gonna get myself in trouble here, I'm pretty sure. There were a bunch of guys here who, let me read this here. Okay. Maybe I'll get to that later. Who took over a wildlife refuge, and they were saying it's so different how the rainbow, because the Forest Service has been trying to pin down, that it's illegal to have a large gathering without a permit in the forest. And I can see that, but what they say is they're not an organization, and there is no organization. There's no fee, which is almost any other thing that you go to. There's some sort of fee. It's just a lot of people agree to show up and camp in the same area. And so that's how they can do that, because nobody's really responsible. And that has its own set of issues and stuff. But it's interesting comparing that to a group that took over the wildlife refuge with arms, with weapons, and they also destroyed some of the buildings, and they also dug through some areas where there were some sensitive cultural artifacts in the ground. And they didn't leave necessarily peacefully. Whereas this group isn't organized in the same way. And they come in and they do their thing, and then a group of volunteers comes in afterwards and meticulously replants any trails that have developed with native plants. And so they're very careful about that. So I thought that was an interesting argument. And I don't know, I've grown to respect that group of people, even though I don't really agree with everything that they're doing out there. Yeah, so that's my take on it. And I know people feel really strongly about the Rainbow Gathering and the Rainbow people and have a lot of animosity and, I don't know, anger. And maybe there's something that's gone on, but I don't feel that way myself personally. And so it's hard for me to get behind any of these conspiracy theories. Although I think it's really fascinating to just think about that. Just a second. Oh, I missed it. Anyhow, let me see if I can get it back here. The question. Well, we'll go with this for now. So it's anyhow, I lost my train of thought there reading these comments. But if you have any questions now about searches or upcoming searches, feel free to post them right now. I'm happy to answer those live right here. Yes. it it reminds me a little bit of that show with, or that movie about the cop that comes to a small town, and it's all these nice people, but they're actually trying to massacre people. So I think that is an interesting plot, and that there's this people of these peaceful, supposedly peaceful people in the forest, but they're actually out there doing menacing things. But that's not been my experience. But they are subject to the same thing of disappearing in the forest. And if you go to any that was another thing. The article was about the rainbow gathering, and I'm spending a lot more time on this topic than I thought I would. Thank you, Alexa. Appreciate that comment. I'm glad you're enjoying them. Yeah, it's there at any festival. There are a lot of deaths, and the deaths that I know of at gatherings are not usually related to drugs, although that is often can be the case. But a lot of times at any festival, people have heart attacks, or like there's one woman that into the regional rainbow gathering they had here in Skamania. Um, they She forgot to take her medication and wandered out into the forest, into and she wasn't taking her medication. So that was drug related, but in a different sort of way. Anyhow, yeah, it's people are really. I can't remember if the next rainbow gathering has already happened. I think it's still coming up here, but we'll see what happens and how, if anybody wanders off there. I'm sure there's always somebody wandering off in the forest, especially if they're high. And like I said, here in Washington, that's not illegal anymore. So it's not such a big deal, although there are all kinds of crazy drugs out there, and I would not recommend taking them. Anyhow, it's a good talking to you guys. If there are any questions or comments, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I'll see you in the comments below, and I look forward to taking you out with us in the future here on the last couple of searches I've done with Christopher. And we stopped at the cave where Christopher went missing, and at Big Cave, and took a short tour of that with the chairman of the Oregon Grotto here. So got some footage of that, so we'll give you a peek in there as well. And just have some campfire chat as well coming up. So I'm looking forward to getting those edited, and hopefully one posted this weekend pretty much for sure. So until then, we'll see you. Thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again soon.